you seen Star Wars?
So last month we got news that there is another Star Wars trilogy in the works. This is going to be written and produced by Simon Kinberg, and this came after Lucasfilm announced 3 Star Wars movies in celebration of 2023, which were the Dave Filoni movie, Rey's movie, and James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi movie. Then less than a year after that, in January of 2024, they announced that the first movie on their slate is actually going to be The Mandalorian and Grogu, written and directed by Jon Favreau. So what would make sense to do after you've announced these 4 movies within less than a year? What should you do after that? Announce 3 more, right? A whole new trilogy, because fuck it, why not? Now, this did not come from Lucasfilm. This news broke from Deadline, and a lot of other major reports like Hollywood Reporter and Variety followed it up and everything. They added a lot more details to the story. So let's take a look at what actually happened here. So this is what Deadline had to say. Lucasfilm has closed the deal with Simon Kinberg to develop a trilogy of Star Wars films. Kinberg will write the trio and produce them with the Lucasfilm chief, Kathleen Kennedy. I heard this will comprise of episodes 10 through 12 of the Skywalker saga that began with Lucas's 1977 first film. But he goes on to say, disputed my intel from other sources, that this will not continue that storyline. This will begin a new saga. And then he goes on to say Kinberg previously worked with Lucasfilm in co-creating with Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck the Emmy-nominated animated series Star Wars Rebels that ran for 4 seasons from 2014 to 2018. He was also a consultant on The Force Awakens, and that revived the franchise in 2015. Now, so Deadline is, what he's saying here is he's got conflicting sources. He's hearing one source saying that this is going to continue the saga, the Skywalker saga. It's going to be episodes 10 through 12. And other sources are saying that this is not going to do that. It's going to be something new. So let's get into what happened after this. Hollywood Reporter and Variety followed this up. Hollywood Reporter is saying that the new story is not meant to be a continuation of the Skywalker saga. The intent is to have a brand new characters and a new story and all that stuff, although that doesn't mean, other characters can't pop up in this that we've already seen. Variety gives a lot more clarity, saying Lucasfilm is developing a new Star Wars trilogy with Kinberg set to write and produce the 3 films with studio chief Kathleen Kennedy. This will begin a new series with new characters after Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, starring yada yada yada. Though plot details haven't been revealed, Lucasfilm has disputed the notion first suggested by Deadline in their initial report of the forthcoming trilogy that Kinberg's movies will continue the story that George Lucas began in 1977's A New Hope. So they are saying that this is not a continuation of the Skywalker saga. Variety goes on to say Disney currently has Jon Favreau's The Mandalorian and Grogu, a continuation of the Disney Plus series about the Mandalorian and all that set, all on the calendar for May 22nd, 2026, along with 2 untitled Star Wars movies set for December 18th, 2026 and December 17th, 2027. Lucas has several other Star Wars projects in the works from filmmakers such as James Mangold, Sharmina Bachinoy, Taika Waititi, Donald Glover, but it's ambiguous which of these will be the first to hit the big screen. And then the last part of this, which is very important, I want you to listen. Sources stress that Kinberg's trilogy remains in early development and it's unclear when it'll go into production. The filmmaker is serving as producer on Paramount's and Edgar Wright's The Running Man remake, which recently went to production with Glenn Powell and Josh Brolin. He's also attached as producer on Paramount's next Star Trek movie from director Toby Haynes. Hey, shout out to Toby Haynes. I think he was the guy who was doing Andor as well. So this guy's got a little bit on his plate as well, but this is in early development. So let's break down all of the information that we know in the most simplest of terms. Simon Kinberg has been with Lucasfilm since the Disney buyout. He was heavily involved in the Rebels series and was a consultant for The Force Awakens. Now Lucasfilm has made a deal with him to write and produce a brand new trilogy that is set outside of the Skywalker saga, introducing new characters in these films. This is very early in development, and knowing Lucasfilm, I think that means there's probably not any scripts, and they either haven't been written or they're not approved of yet. They already have so many movies that they've been working on over the years. Look at this, okay? We still have The Mandalorian and Grogu releasing in May of 2026, another movie scheduled in December of that year, and a third in 2027. Both the December dates have nothing attached to it at the moment. At the moment, the Rey Star Wars movie has lost its, 3rd or 4th writer. They're actively looking for a replacement, so that's not going to go into production for at least another year if they get a new writer to write it within a year and approve it. James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi is likely to start production within the next couple of years, so maybe theoretically that could be the December 2027 release. Dave Filoni is working on Ahsoka Season 2, which has not even started pre-production, and his Mandoverse movie. Sean Levy is making a Star Wars movie that Kathleen Kennedy said she wants to be like his style Star Wars movie. Taika Waititi, Lucasfilm is still saying he's writing his Star Wars movie and that they still want to make that. Patty Jenkins is saying that she is rewriting her Rogue Squadron movie. And Kathleen Kennedy is still claiming that Rian Johnson is coming back to do his trilogy. She swears. And Donald Glover. God, I can't forget this one. Donald Glover is making a Lando movie as well. That's 11 movies right there that they say are coming. Not right now, but one day. If you add in this new trilogy from Simon Kinberg, that's 14 Star Wars movies. Now, to be truthful, the only ones that are really in active development are probably like 5 of these things. We all know the truth here. We all know a lot of this isn't going to happen at all. And what I think is really going to happen is the Mando and Grogu movie, because that is already, being filmed. And the Dave Filoni Mandoverse movie is happening. They love Dave. They trust Dave. He's high up there now. James Mangold is getting his movie. I firmly believe that they have enough love and respect for him to do that. And then they really want to hit with the Rey movie to kind of make up for the sequels and put a little cherry on top of that story. So I'm pretty confident doing the Rey movie as well. So that's at least 4 of these movies that are in active development right now today as we're speaking. With this new trilogy, it's an early development, and that's a big deal because Simon Kinberg does have a good relationship with Lucasfilm. He's been there for a while now. There's a trust there that these other writers and directors are not going to have like he does. So I believe he's kind of got priority over these other 6 Star Wars movies that may or may not be happening. I think this guy just kind of moved himself up the line a little bit. Like, let's be honest, the 3 movies that they announced in like 2020, it was 2, but they also announced the Lando series, so we're going to count it as 3. They announced Lando, Rogue Squadron, and Taika Waititi Star Wars movies. That was 4 years ago, and there's no updates. And that's probably because these people aren't turning in scripts that Lucasfilm can have a $200 million budget kind of faith in. And I think they have that with Simon Kinberg. I think he's going to give them a trilogy that they're going to have a lot more faith in developing. And I think that just pushed a lot of these other Star Wars projects further down the line, where you might not get a Lando movie till 2035 or Taika's movie till 2040 or something like that. But there's a lot of questions with this new trilogy. These are 3 movies. Is this going to be every 3 years, every 2? Is it going to be every 1 year? I mean, what era is this going to be in? And a huge question is, who's directing these movies? That's going to be a big aspect on these movies, and I pray Lucasfilm gets one director, just one, that is willing to commit to these 3 films. How you do this in pre-production is going to mean a lot, and I would love to see you, Lucasfilm, if you're listening, please take someone who's been watching this for a while. I can give you a little bit of a good advice. Stay inside your lane. Stay with Rick Famuyiwa. Well, I think he would do a great job directing a Star Wars movie. Or Bryce Dallas Howard. Hell, I would love for her dad, Ron Howard, to come back and take a real crack at a Star Wars movie. You need to pick a director that Lucasfilm and the fans are going to have faith in. And I think these 3 are great picks. I would add someone like a Tony Gilroy to this wish list because I love him, but I think with him, you can't have someone else write it. I think either he needs to write it, his brother Dan Gilroy needs to write it, but if it's going to be Tony, he needs to take over, And truth be told, Simon Kinberg worries me as a writer. Not as a producer, but as a writer. Those X-Men movies are not very good. Days of Future Past was terrific. He wrote that one, but the other ones are just not very good. And I'm not a big fan of Rebels as a show either. So if that's the style of Star Wars that we're going to get with this trilogy, I'm going to be a little worried. I don't want any member berries, okay? But don't forget the big X factor in this, guys. This is now the most important question with any Star Wars project we have going forward. Where does Dave Filoni fit into all of this? Is he going to direct this trilogy? Is he going to add to the story like he's done with all the other Star Wars shows except Andor, which may or may not be why that was so good? This is a bold move by Lucasfilm, though. Let's stay on topic here. This is pretty big. You have a writer with an iffy track record, and only time's going to tell what's going to happen here. But wait, guys. Breaking news: Simon Kinberg has left the Star Wars trilogy, leaving due to creative differences. I'm sorry. I'm just practicing that line for a future video. And speaking of which, help me defeat the dark side of the YouTube algorithm. Like this video or subscribe to the channel for future videos. Comment below. Give me your thoughts. This trilogy, is it going to happen? If it does, when? And do you trust Simon Kinberg to write and produce this thing? And most importantly, what's it going to be about? When's it going to be set in? Who's the director? Where does Dave Filoni fit into all this? Comment your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time. I'm Star Wars Only, and may the Force be with you, always.